Welcome back to Smoked Meat with Jeff. Today we're going to do a little seafood dish. Planning on making some smoked seafood linguine Alfredo. And we're going to be doing this today with got some lobster tails and some shrimp. So let's get on to some of the basic ingredients you're going to need for this particular recipe. But of course I've got just something real simple today, just a Jack and Coke. So we'll be right back with some with the ingredients requirements for making this dish. Okay, smoked seafood linguine. This is actually fairly easy to make. It's pretty quick in the scheme of smoked meat recipes. You're only going to be smoking your meat for a little less than an hour between the two items that we're going to be putting in our linguine. As far as non-food ingredients, you're basically going to need some bamboo skewers, and this is completely optional. It just makes it a little easier to keep your shrimp from falling into the smoker since they are so small. It is a little windy today, as you can see, so I apologize now if you get a lot of wind noise from the camera. Perfect for today. Alright, for your food ingredients, you are going to need a 4 to 5 ounce lobster tail per person that you're feeding. And I've got 4 of these today. And then about a pound or so of shrimp. This has been peeled and the tails taken off at this point. About a pound will do. We're going to season that with, got our my special homemade seasoning here. This is my sweet and smoky. We're going to need a little olive oil to get that to stick. We're going to need a lemon, couple cloves of garlic, of course some butter, and then you're going to need your linguine. I've just got a box of linguine here and some Alfredo sauce, and we're just going to prepare that according to the box directions for that particular part. Other than that, let's go ahead and get started on preparing the lobster tails for the smoker, because these are going to go on for about an hour, and today I'm going to be smoking with cherry wood. And then we're going to follow that up with our shrimp. That's going to go on the smoker for about half an hour. So we're going to start off with the lobster tails and prepping that. So let's get started turning this little seafood delight into dinner. Okay, the first thing we're going to need to do is prep some of our ingredients prior to slicing the lobster tails open. So take your clove of garlic and go ahead and peel that, and then slice it into some nice thin pieces like so. Because we're going to take this and we're going to insert it inside of the lobster tail while it's smoking to really impart some of that flavor. And then you're going to do the same thing with your stick of butter. We're going to go ahead and cut a couple of nice thin slices of butter like so. Of course, removing the wrapper. And we're going to use this on the lobster as well. So the next step, admittedly the hardest part of this, is going to be splitting our lobster tail. So let me show you how to do that real quick. Okay, to prep our lobster tails for smoking, we actually need to split it from the top all the way down to the very tail end of this, from the top down. And there's 2 ways of doing this. You can do it with just a really sharp knife, or I find it's a lot easier to get a pair of kitchen scissors and just get underneath the flesh and the shell and start splitting. And go all the way down to the bottom. Then you can grab your sharp knife and actually get it into that crevice and split the meat as well. And then you can open it up and you've got your split lobster tail at that point. So we're going to do that for all of the lobster tails that we're doing today. And then it's just a matter of taking a piece of butter and inserting it inside the lobster tail like so. And then do the same thing with a couple pieces of garlic. We're just going to shove a couple of pieces of garlic in there to really impart some garlic flavor into our lobster tail, like so. You can see I got the butter and the garlic in there. And from here it's just a matter of placing this directly on the smoker grate, or use a Bradley rack like I will do. Makes it easier for transport. And we're just going to throw this thing directly onto the smoker. for about 45 minutes to an hour until it comes to a finished cooking temperature, internal temperature of 140 to 145 degrees. So once we get this on the smoker, we're going to turn our attention to the shrimp. Since that only needs to cook for about 25 to 30 minutes, we've got a little bit of time to prep that while this is started on the smoker. So I'm going to finish prepping the lobster tails, and then we'll be back with dealing with the shrimp in just a couple minutes. Alright, I forgot to mention that we're smoking today at about 225 degrees, so not very hot, not normally the 250 degrees that we're usually at. So I've got the lobsters on the smoker right now, so we can turn our attention to the shrimp. And this is really easy. All we're going to do is coat this in a little bit of olive oil, mix it up a bit, and remember, these have been peeled and the tails removed at this point, just to make it a lot easier. We're going to add some of our my home seasoning here. You can use whatever you wish. This is my sweet and smoky. And just lightly coat the shrimp. Oops. So that you got a little bit of spice on there, just enough to give it some flavor, because we're going to be adding this, of course, to our Alfredo linguine. And then at that point, all we're really going to do is we're going to skewer these things so we don't end up with them falling through the grates on our smoker. And once the lobster's been on the smoker for about half an hour or so, we're going to go ahead and add these so that they finish up at about the same time. So let's check back in a little bit with the smoker and see where we're at. Okay, we've had the lobster tails on for about 20 minutes now or so, so I'm going to go ahead and get the shrimp on, as you can see here. If you take a look at this, I've got a double rack in here because I'm going to be doing some other stuff, but we've got the lobster tails looking here, starting to turn nice and red. We're going to get the shrimp on the smoker for about half an hour or so, and then we'll be back to check on things. And while I'm waiting for this to cook, it is time to start the linguine in the boiler and start heating up the Alfredo sauce. So we'll come back when this is just about done and get ready to eat. Okay, the pasta is just about done inside, so let's check in on the lobster and the shrimp. Oh, that's looking good. You can see that the shrimp is no longer translucent. It's got the nice white color that it needs to let you know that it is done. And the lobster, I just checked with my meat thermometer, is 140 degrees, and our target is 100 to 145. So I'm getting ready to pull this off once the pasta's done, because you want to serve this right away for the best flavor. So let's move on to that. All right, we have our shrimp done. And our lobster tails have reached 140 to 145 degrees on the inside. So now it's just a matter of, we're going to take the shrimp off the skewers. Just right into a bowl, if we can make that happen. And then we're going to remove the lobster meat from the inside of the tails. And then it's just a matter of serving this up with our side of Alfredo fettuccine. Okay, now that we have our lobster smoked and off the smoker, it's just a matter of removing the meat, which is of course not the easiest thing in the world. I find that if you take it and break off the tail portion, just kind of rip that off like so. Since we already have it split, we're just going to open it up, and you end up with the two halves. And then it's just a matter of getting your finger in there and really scooping out the internal meat like so. Then you're going to take this and you can either cut it up into some small medallions, put it on the side of the linguine with the shrimp, or you can actually mix it in and then enjoy. So I'm going to flip to the picture of the end result while I finish this up. Yeah, take a look at that. That's just absolutely amazing. So this is Jeff with Smoked Meat with Jeff. Have fun on your smoker until next time, and enjoy whatever meats you decide to throw on your smoker and have for dinner.